Welcome to the Startups and AI podcast. Today I'm joined by Heidi, who's the founder of CashFlowy AI. Welcome to the show, Heidi. I would love to learn what you're building at CashFlowy.
Thanks for having me. So, we are a bookkeeping, tax prep, and basically an AI CFO, like financial coach, specifically and exclusively for solopreneurs. So, that means like a coach, consultant, influencer, creative, solar practitioner in some way. So, you're solopreneur ish. Maybe you have an assistant or a few contractors helping you out, but really you are the business. You provide some sort of service. Maybe you have an online program, but that's who we are exclusively and solely designed for. And so think of it this way. If for bigger businesses, you have like a FreshBooks, a QuickBooks, a Xero, and for a solopreneur, that's like you being a petite person and walking into a store that specializes in tall people clothes. Nothing fits you. Everything needs to be tailored and rolled and pinned, and it's still just not going to look right. It's going to be frustrating. So we are the petite store where everything fits like a glove. There's no accounting jargon. The AI is incredibly smart because it knows you and your business. Unlike a QuickBooks or FreshBooks where their AI feels very stupid, which isn't their fault. It's because it's actually hard to make AI smart when they work with, 5,000 different types of businesses, all of which have 300 different variables on each of them. We work specifically and exclusively for solopreneurs. So we replace your human bookkeeper. We actually include human bookkeepers. Our entire customer service team are human bookkeepers you can meet with anytime, you can jump on a live chat with, but by and large, you don't need them because the platform is so intuitive and easy for you to use. So, a lot of solopreneurs are spending $200, $300, $400 a month between a clunky software that they hate logging into that really doesn't work for them because it's a tall person store and a human bookkeeper to manage that software when we can replace all of that for $39 a month.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I think the timing of it is pretty good because with AI, you're seeing a rise in, solopreneurs and very small teams, and you're providing it at such a reasonable price. How did you come across this problem initially, and why did you pick, your target to be solopreneurs? Would love to learn about that.
So this is actually my fifth company. I exited my last company at the end of 2021, and all my businesses prior have served solopreneurs in different ways. I love solopreneurs. They are the backbone of the US economy and they are our future. The US is about to go under the largest white collar layoff by epic proportions. Where you're going to have, hundreds of thousands of six-figure earners that are going to be laid off with no replacement jobs. However, I believe that this is actually a huge opportunity for them to use their plethora of corporate experience, their hobbies, all of their life experience to find a problem and solve that problem as a solopreneur where they can actually make more money working fewer hours, doing more aligned work and not have to deal with, showing up in corporate and kind of all the things that come with corporate. So although it's going to be a painful transition for many, I believe that there's a bright light on the end of that. And through the last 20 years of my different companies serving solopreneurs, one thing I saw over and over again is that they struggled with their numbers. They struggled with bookkeeping, but beyond the bookkeeping, they also just didn't understand their numbers in their business to make smart business decisions. They didn't know what a KPI is. They had no financial coach, no CFO. And so I not only wanted to do a better job of solving their bookkeeping and tax prep problem, but I also wanted to give them clear dashboard and clear information on what's actually happening in their business, which services make them the most amount of money, what they should be focused on, like set them up so they feel really smart. And that allows them to make better decisions so that they can work fewer hours and actually keep more money at the end of the month. So we're the only bookkeeping tax prep platform that actually helps a solopreneur make more money and keep more money through the AI financial coaching that's available.
It's awesome. Love to hear that. And I think there's like a lot of things solopreneurs have to do, like figure out how to incorporate and, finances. So the first time they're building the software. So, something like this seems like an amazing product. How did you come up with, the product market fit? Like what specific problem within bookkeeping to solve? Like, you've been an entrepreneur for decades now. What's your process to finding product market fit, and how did you do it with CashFlowy?
Well, I already knew the market extremely well. Like I live inside their heads. I know them better than they know themselves. And I was, shocked when I did the research because I thought surely by now some solution has come, on the market. I just was doing the research based on the fact that I knew that this was a problem that I saw over and over and over again. Every business I was in, every solopreneur that I worked with, and I'd worked with tens of thousands over, 20-year period. So I thought, surely somebody is solving this. And then I was actually shocked to find they really weren't. The closest thing is like Wave, which is kind of clunky. It definitely doesn't, it only helps you be tax ready and like have your bookkeeping done. It doesn't do any of the AI financial coaching at all. Also, it's a bait and switch. I hate that. We have one, it's just one thing, it's one price, and every single thing is included. There's no like, as soon as you start, then you get this charge and this charge, to actually use the platform properly. You get like 6 more charges and you don't even know what you're paying anymore. And, it's really frustrating. And so I then just, with AI moving so fast, I knew that we could build the tech really well and that we could make the tech smarter and smarter and smarter with the pace of AI. So it was just like the right time. It was the right time to build this product for this market that was already a really large market. Solopreneurs are already the largest business segment in the US. There's 42 million of them. It's on track to be 87 million by next year. And most likely that's a conservative number, given the fact that over the last 2 years, every estimate it has surpassed by far, and it's not even taking fully into account the massive white collar layoff that is coming. So the market's fast moving. And the other component is all of these people that are starting to get laid off, and we're going to see that in epic proportions in the near future. They have mortgages, kids in private schools, leased cars. They're high income earners that are used to those paychecks. And many of them don't have ample savings, or definitely don't want to burn it because they, we want to retire eventually. And so they have to make money and keep money. They have to be profit focused from day one. And because they're new to solopreneurship, they don't necessarily know what that means or how to do that because they've been in the corporate world, right? Getting their corporate W-2 job. And I want to help them with that. I think it's just good for our world if these very competent, skilled people can make this transition easier and better, can be out solving problems, getting paid well to solve those problems, and actually have the net income that they need to sustain their family. I mean, that also just keeps our economy on track as well. And so it's good for everybody. It is absolutely good for everybody. And so I want to be in the ring, really working to make that happen.
Amazing, amazing. Also, like, I want new solopreneurs to, be educated through this podcast as well. Like, would love to learn, how did you, once you came up with the idea and you built it, how did you do your customer acquisition? How did you get your first customers? I'm sure there's like some from your network because you've been, an entrepreneur. What's your process like for that?
When we were building, we opened up different cohorts of paid beta users. So very like low cost, but paid beta users. We actually originally did free, and I realized that that was a mistake. So for those of you building a tech solution, I'll just give you a lesson I learned. When you give something for free, people don't value it as much, and it was hard to get them to actually adopt it, especially because we were in early stages and we were giving very white glove service in that because the software wasn't fully working. It wasn't done. We were assigning them human bookkeepers that were actually doing all of the work for them. And so they were they were definitely getting a $400 a month service for free, but it was hard to get them to meet with us and give feedback, to even just use it. And so we went to paid beta. And so it was low cost because they were, they're working out the kinks with us. But once we did that, then they actually used it, talked to our bookkeepers, met with us, gave us feedback, and then they were the ones that helped us really define and refine and shape it as we built it and got it ready to go to market. And yeah, all those beta founding members essentially came through my network, kind of one way, or either directly in my network or indirectly, like somebody in my network, emailed for us or, whatever, and they came in that way. So That's what we did. So we had a couple hundred paid beta users that took us through a year-long build. And then we went to market, and yeah, our go-to-market is through, just all of the standard strategies. We have partnerships, we have paid ads, we have SEO, we have just all the things.
Awesome. Awesome. Would also love to learn a bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. Did you always want it to be an entrepreneur, or did you work first? How has your journey been? And maybe, some of the best lessons that you've learned during the journey, if you could share those as well.
Yeah, definitely came out of the chute an entrepreneur. I'm from a long line of blue collar union workers. All my parents, step parents, literally everybody was a blue collar union worker for 40 plus years at the same job and then retired. So by age 9, I'm like crafting businesses and kind of confusing everyone. My grandmother, though, on my dad's side, very late in life, after her husband passed and our kids were out of the house and stuff, she actually dabbled in entrepreneurship and did it successfully. And so she was definitely my first role model in that. And yeah, I just always loved finding problems that I can solve and then getting paid to solve those problems. It just has always felt good to me, and to birth things into the world that, make life better for people and to get compensated that way. So, I mean, I did get, a couple of regular jobs out of school, but I always had like a side hustle business going on, and I knew I wanted to be a full-time business owner, but you're young, you're inexperienced, and it's best to just have a job, pays the bills. You're getting a lot of experience in those jobs. So I did have a couple of jobs, but by my mid-20s, I then quit my last full-time day job because my side hustle business was almost enough to cover my bills. And it was like enough that I took in a roommate and said, okay, we're going to call this enough and I'm going to go all in. And so I did. Yeah. And that was my journey.
Awesome. Awesome. So if there's someone like, working at a job right now who wants to be an entrepreneur, if there's one thing, they could do to start this, like what would you recommend for them?
I mean, definitely start as a side hustle. I'm actually not somebody that thinks you should burn all the boats and jump in full time unless you're in a financial position where that's not going to put undue stress on you. Like maybe you have a spouse or partner, or you have, family money, or, whatever the case is. But if that's not the case and you actually need your income to pay your bills, keep your income and pay your bills, because you can get it off the ground on the side and you're going to have a lot more fun, and you're actually going to grow faster because you're not under the stress of paying your bills, because that stress comes out where you're actually making worse decisions because you're in your stress brain and pay the bills brain, and not in your creative, flowy, how do I play with this? Where do I find the gold? Like, you want to stay in that space. So it is worth it to keep the job. And what you could do, this is a transition that I made that I'm really, really grateful that I did. And it helped me actually quit my job faster. So job that was pretty like big in that. So I was managing an athletic club and day spa in a Hyatt Regency hotel. We were a 30,000 square foot facility. We had like, I don't know, 20, 25 employees. And so I was working like 55 hours a week. I was young, and so it was really, really hard to work on my side business, even though I was young. I, didn't need a ton of sleep. I didn't have kids or a partner or whatever. And so I had bandwidth, but it's still really, really hard to get a side business off the ground when you're working that hard at your day job. So what I did was I left that job. I took a sales job where I was only in the field about 20 hours a week. And then they had a showroom that you could work at. And it was like, $12 an hour or whatever to sit in the showroom. But what I learned was I can sit on the computer on the internet and work on my business. And only about like 2 people an hour would like walk into the showroom. So I could get paid to work on my business. Like, granted, a low wage, but I could make just enough in that sales job. It was less than what I was making at the other job, but I made some changes in my personal finances. I took in a roommate. I like turned in my lease car for a cheaper one. And, I just did some like reshuffling of my finances, and so that I could take a lower paying, much easier job. So I was really only working 20 hours a week. The other 20 hours a week, I was just sitting in the showroom, basically getting paid to just work on my business. And then I just went all in on the business, right? I bought this course, for those of you that are a little older and you were in the online marketing space, you may remember a woman named Allie Brown. She was like the first really female in the online marketing space that really changed the game. And so I bought her program, which at the time was a huge lift for me. I think it was like $2,000. And if you remember, this was like 25, years ago, right? And I was very young, right? I'm in my early 20s. It was a huge amount of money for me. But I, got out my credit card, did it. They sent, this is pre-online programs, right? So she sends a big binder and DVDs and all the things out. And I mean, I just sat and did every single thing she said to do. I watched every DVD like 3 times. I'm a minimalist, so I got rid of that binder years ago, but that's actually one of my regrets of throwing it away because it had like tears in it, coffee stains, markers, it was just a journey. But I just went to town on that, sitting in that gallery, and then was able to get the income high enough that I could, quit this job. And I actually even transitioned out of that. I stopped when the business started making just enough money. I stopped doing the go out in the field sales, but I actually kept the gallery work, even though it was like low paying. It was still something. It was still some income, and I could just work on the business, right? For those hours. And then another 20, 30 hours a week when I'm not in the gallery, then I would do my field work. And so it was a transition down, and that's what I recommend for people. So I wasn't under financial stress. I could actually just play and have fun and be in my creativity and flow and all of that. So that's my strong recommendation for those of you wanting to make the transition.
Amazing, amazing. Love that. It's an amazing story of hustle, how you made changes. And I think you gave amazing advice that, if you're under stress, financial stress, then you're probably not going to make the best decisions, which you need to do when you're, starting out. You need to make really good decisions in figuring out the problem and solving it the right way. So amazing advice. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about AI. You brought up some really interesting points that there's already a lot of layoffs going on, and in future we can only expect that to happen more. And at the same time, this might be good for people trying to start off their business. A lot of them would be forced to do. What do you think the world is going to look like in the next couple of years? What are some of your predictions with AI?
The thing with technology is the faster it moves, the faster it moves because of the compound effect. So the general public, I think, doesn't really have a clue what's coming, right? And there is some, backlash to AI, which, I totally get. I'm definitely more of an optimist than a pessimist. So I'll preface that up front. I think we are on the verge of creating a new and better and more equitable world for all. I don't necessarily think it's going to be an easy process to get there. I think there's going to be some pain involved. And for some people, a lot of pain, unfortunately. But I do think we're going to come out of this better. I think human consciousness is rising. We're getting on the blockchain, transparency. Scammers are going to go down. I think the evil powers that be running our planet, I think their time's up. And I think they're going to go, not going to go down without a fight and cause us some problems along the way. But ultimately, they're not going to win. I think, we the people are going to win and rise up. And we're doing like a big rebalance and a shifting and redoing, broken systems that no longer serve us. And so I'm very optimistic. In terms of the next 2 years, you're going to see a lot of the big companies. They are already hiring. Like, one of the fastest growing roles are these AI integrators, where their job is to go in and actually find ways to integrate, AI and agentic workflows and all of the things. And they're starting to be successful. So you're going to find departments that have, 20, 30, 40 people in them that are going to go down to like 3 people, because humans need to be in the loop, and we need the human brain power and the human creativity and, all of that. But we don't need like 30 of them. We maybe need 3 or 5 or, something, depending on, what it is and what that looks like. And so I think a lot of people assume we'll all be in the 3 to 5 that get capped. And statistically speaking, you will not. So I would prepare not to be. And then if you are, that's fine. So mass layoffs are coming for these big expensive jobs. Because think about it, if you've got 40 people all making multiple six figures and you can go down to 3 to 5 with all these agentic workflows and they're kind of managing all the things, and you just have the people managing the AI, but then also bringing the human power, brain power to the table, they're going to save the money. Like they just absolutely are. And so you're going to see that at the big companies first, because they can fund right now. They can just add these, high paid positions and just experiment and try and still keep all the workflow. So that's what we're seeing right now is they're actually spending more at the moment. But I mean, that's going to shift pretty quickly here. I don't know the exact timeline, but it's going to shift and it's going to be like a flow, a fast flow. So, unfortunately, there's just too many of these high price corporate workers that are not seeing this coming. And so they're not making the moves that they need to right now. So it's going to be painful for them because it's going to be a forced transition. What I wish that they would do is actually just start planning for it now and really start doing internal work and thinking about their plethora of experience, both corporate and maybe hobbies that they really got into and whatever it is, and think about what is a problem out there that actually exists for a real person that would actually pay for a solution, and to do the research on that and do some experimentation on that, that they would enjoy solving. That would be really fun for them to solve, and to go out and just find some clients and just do some work, even if it's like pro bono, and experiment and see where you could fit and work as a solopreneur. And then that transition is going to be so much easier for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you doing the same at CashFlowy? Like when you're trying to hire or you're trying to grow, like what's the size of your team and like, how are you thinking about the future for CashFlowy as well?
Yeah, I mean, so we have 13 full-time employees, and as we scale, we won't add too many more. Like we could scale significantly bigger with only, like 2 to 3 more full-time employees. So to go from where we are to like up here, really we're looking at 2 to 3 employees probably. And we are incorporating, a lot of, AI agentic flows. We only hire people that are AI forward and that are not scared of AI, and that know that, their position may transition, which we've already had happen where they got hired for whatever. We amplified it, but they were such a great team player and fit in so well in our team and are highly skilled and have stayed ahead of the curve that we just repurpose them to a different position, right? So my goal is to retain what we have, add a couple of more, but that's kind of it. We can scale really big then with a pretty lean team as long as everyone is AI forward, which is our current team.
Awesome. What are like the top workflows that you use AI for and what you're seeing maybe in the market, the top AI workflows? Because, like the world is still a bit slow in adoption, but what are you seeing like in, I guess, like on the ground?
On the dev side, so dev is development for those of you not in the software world. And so on the dev side, we're able to just move a lot faster because my CTO slash co-founder can utilize a lot of different, agentic tools to build things a lot faster. Obviously, we have Claude Code. I mean, Fable 5 was amazing until the rug got pulled out. But, it'll come back. They'll make the modifications and it will come back, which it's going to be pretty game changing when it does. So that's what we're doing on the dev side. We're just able to do more faster with fewer people. And then same with on the marketing side, we have a pretty lean marketing team because they just use a lot of AI to support them. Like we still need the highly skilled marketers with big, beautiful creative brains that are doing the human work. And there is still a lot of human work to do, but their jobs are easier and more fun because they're doing the good, fun human work and not all the minutia, like all this details and the this and the that. We can like AIify it. So done right, people actually like their jobs more because they're more in their zone of genius for more hours out of the day than just like grunt work and just stuff that comes along with just the execution.
Yeah. I think like, all the boring routine work could be taken care of, and then you can probably do your best work. But do you think there are certain people who think like there will be AI employees that could completely do maybe a human job end to end? Do you think that's going to happen, or that's probably too far in the future?
Way, way, way too far in the future. And I don't know if ever. You always need a human in the loop. So, like, yes, a human could run multiple AI agents. It's not a one for one by any means. They can run a lot of different workflows, a lot of different things. But you always are going to need, I think, a human in the loop. I just don't know. So the day may come, but we're pretty far off from that, not needing a human in the loop. So the best thing the humans can do is figure out where their zone of genius is in their human brain and then how to use that and live in that zone of genius while managing AI to support them in their genius.
Awesome. So you've been an entrepreneur for so long, and entrepreneurship comes with making a lot of mistakes and then learning a lot of lessons. Would love to hear about, some mistakes you made and top lessons you learned during your journey.
I mean, so I'm a learn by doing person, which I think is the best approach. Frankly, you're not going to figure it all out in your head. You need to get into action, take action. And then as you take actions, there's going to be reactions. And then based on those reactions, you can course correct, right? And so the people that just sit and think and think and think and think, like you're never going to get there. Like you just think enough and do enough research to just move forward. And how can you move forward in what we call, like in the software world, we call it MVP, minimum viable product, right? But you can apply that concept to anything. What's the minimum viable action I can take to see if this has legs or if this is working? So, for example, from people shifting from corporate to solopreneurs right now, thinking about problems they potentially could solve, what's the minimum viable action you could take? Okay, well, you could make a Google Doc, use Claude to help you out to create what the solution is that you want to provide for people, the result, who this solution would be a good fit for, and then just call up your network, pass it around, and see if you can get two people to just take advantage of it, either very low price or even free, and see how it goes. Like, and don't spend 20 hours delivering it, spend like two. Like, what's something that, like, a result I could get people in 2 to 3 hours, maybe four max, and see, like, how did it work? Did they get any results? What objections did they have? What feedback did they have? Did I even like doing this service? Did it work? Is there legs here? Is there a need? Was nobody interested in what I had to offer? Or were there several bites? Like, just taking small bite-sized actions and then going from there. And we did that in our beta. So very early on when the software was so skeleton, like it didn't work, like way before the software actually worked, we signed up beta people. Now we were obviously very upfront and honest with them, like our software doesn't work, but we're assigning you a human bookkeeper that works and that will get you the correct numbers. And this is you because you're going to help us figure this out. You're going to help us figure out the UX design and what the buttons look like and what they say and what features you need and what's most important to you and what's not and what would be the most helpful and all of the things, right? And so like just you got to like launch before you're ready. Like work out just a skeleton of a plan and then get it out into the world.
The minimum viable action, like something I've
Yeah,
learned
minimum viable
today.
action. Good.
Awesome. Awesome. Is there any, influencer or someone that you look up to for either advice or love to hear that has helped you throughout your career? Something that motivates you?
I mean, different people throughout the years. I once was a very avid reader. I feel like that. I'm a little busy right now running a tech startup. So, um, not as good of a reader as I once was, but I used to be good at like, I would, often, finish off a book a week or every 2 weeks or something. And which I do think that books are there. A lot of times people will a good book and I'm willing to just drop a book in the first chapter if it's not very useful for me or not well written or whatever, but like good books are usually the author is taking 10, 20, 30 years worth of experience and distilling it into something that you can read relatively quickly. Depending on the length of the book, it's maybe anywhere from 4 to 15 hours, right? You can gain 20, 30 years worth of knowledge and lessons, and not that all of it's going to be applicable to your life, but there are several things in there that can just save you so much time and energy and give you insights and ideas and things to move from. That I just think that reading is a great start. And then a lot of times now these days those people also have YouTube channels and podcasts and email newsletters and also, things. So if you've got somebody that you really resonate with and they're distilling a lot of information to you that you're finding really helpful. You can get deeper in their world and maybe they have programs. And that's how I found my original mentor, Allie Brown, is I read something that she released. I mean, this is way back in the day when, I don't even remember what it was because I mean, blogs were even new. Maybe it was a blog. I don't know, but that was even new. Right. And I was like, wow, like I just feel like she's talking to me. She understands where I'm at. And then I'm wanting to transition out of corporate and I want to get into this online marketing space. And the online marketing world was very new then. I mean, this is when like the very first like email marketing service, like ESP was getting, released, right? I think it was Constant Contacts was the first one, which I don't even know if they're around anymore. But so it was, cutting edge. I was excited about it. And so I just went deep into her world and then through her found, other mentors along the way.
Awesome. Well, amazing story, Heidi. I really enjoyed our talk, and I think what you're building at CashFlow is going to help a lot of solopreneurs, and you're doing an amazing job. And I wish all the best in future for CashFlowy. And yeah, thanks for sharing your journey.
Thanks for having me.